kind folks. Welcome back to Fully Immersed. This is a themed entertainment podcast. I am Lane Calder, your host. I am here with my co-hosts, Tobias Lerman Matante and Spencer Bennett. Hi, guys.
Hello.
What's up?
So we've talked about some numerous topics. We're finally getting more topical in our show here, and kind of go abroad. We've talked a lot about Epic Universe because it's been the news in the US, but themed entertainment exists everywhere. Everything that we specialize in, immersive arts and all that stuff. We've worked, I think, all three of us on some level of international projects, and so that is something that we've all done in the past. And so this world is a lot bigger than just the US, and we're also going to kind of touch on why a big topic like theme parks, there's been improvements, new lands, things like that in the last 20 plus years in the US, but really until Epic Universe, not a full new park opening. And so that's why it was such huge news here. Meanwhile, we're getting a lot of news from Disney, Universal, other big theme park giants, and people that do themed entertainment on just a high level of opening parks in the Middle East, in Great Britain. And so we're going to kind of talk about that, touch on that, why for a long time everything was happening here, and the last 20 plus years or so, not quite the case. So guys, thanks for joining me again. This is exciting. To be totally honest, the work I've done, it's been a few years since I've specialized in anything international. Most of what I do is based here in the US, and so I am probably a bit more out of touch than the two of you guys. So I'm going to let you be the mentors in this episode, and I will be your springboard. So thank you both in advance.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, would love to start the conversation wherever you guys see fit. I think really the recent news that kind of shocked a lot of people online, got people excited, got people feeling a very specific type of way about it, is the announcement of the new Disney park in the Middle East. So I think we can kind of kick it off there, because that's probably one of the biggest things that's kind of happened in this space recently, and why there of all places, and compared to other markets when Universal is announcing stuff like Great Britain, and even focusing on smaller markets as well.
So Disney Abu Dhabi is obviously a very loaded conversation for sure. I think there's nothing wrong with building in the Middle East. Obviously, there's been a number of expansions there. There's a whole Warner Brothers Movie World park in Abu Dhabi. Six Flags is trying to kind of kick the frickin' doors down of that market with their park over there, and Falcon's
and frankly,
Flight,
there's a lot of money to be had
for sure, and there's a lot of money there as well. So I think there's reasons that it makes sense. I think there's also concerning elements with in Abu Dhabi specifically, human rights violations and whatnot, and the constructions of these parks. And I think with Disney, they need to be incredibly, incredibly aware of that kind of thing. And also maybe they don't care. And I think that's what kind of concerned a lot of people online, is that they're more just kind of past the point of faking it. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like, whatever, that's a market that everyone's trying to get into right now. But
sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
potential.
Yeah, exactly. I think that specifically kind of what launched this conversation idea was last week we were talking about Epic Universe, and last week's episode that was recorded and when Epic Universe first opened. But we were talking about Epic Universe and kind of how that was, outside of a couple new lands and rides over 20 plus years, this was the first like major thing that has happened in the US theme park market since 2001, since California Adventure opened. And in that span of time, Disney's opened 3 resorts, or 4 theme parks, 3 resorts. Universal's opened 2 or 3. I think Universal Japan, Singapore, and Beijing have all been in the last 20 years. Beijing was like 2021. It was really recent. Mm-hmm. And just you have these kind of thriving regional, for lack of a better word, theme parks in Europe and other places in Australia. And just kind of, why has the US market been up into, the last year sort of been neglected in that case? And you have Disney, as opposed to adding additions to, the US parks, they're opening an entirely new resort in a fairly controversial area in controversial fashion. So to
Right.
bring that back to that, like it's kind of this big picture idea, like the US market is just kind of odd. And there's a lot of amazing stuff in the international parks that we want to talk about. So, Toby, give your thoughts on that.
uh, I mean, to go back to your earlier point on Disney Abu Dhabi, why? I mean, the money's there. It's as simple as that. There is money, and they are investing like crazy in their tourism in that area,
Mm-hmm.
building incredibly massive resorts. But as you were saying that, I just realized it's like, the answer to that big why, I think ultimately might come down to competition. Uh, I I don't see much competition at the highest level within the states outside of Disney and Universal. Like
Mm-hmm.
that, you have your regional players, and maybe I'll bite my words in a few years with the new Six Flags Cedar Fair merger, and something big happens there. And but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like they're more concerned on closing parks than opening them. Um, which I mean, totally fair. They have a lot to figure out, but uh it is a really interesting conversation because it's not just that parks are opening abroad, it's that really good parks are opening abroad.
Right.
Yeah.
Really, really, really good parks. And I mean, the biggest resort, I mean, Disney's biggest theme park is Shanghai, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's their biggest by a mile, and they threw, everything in the kitchen sink into that. And I mean, Universal, Japan's been getting huge, and then Beijing. I mean, Beijing is probably what could some people could argue is the best dark ride in the world right now.
Jurassic
Mhm.
World, yeah.
Jurassic, that thing is insane.
Yeah, for those
Uh,
listeners who aren't aware of this, the Jurassic World ride in Beijing is like the gyrosphere from the movie, and an Indominus
Mhm.
Rex animatronic that's like 40 feet tall literally chases the vehicle. Like it
yeah, it's
runs.
it's
Wow.
incredibly impressive,
Yeah.
and so it's and I mean, even hell, look at the Japanese Disney parks. I mean, look at the
Yeah.
Yeah.
investment they've got into those.
Their Pirates of the
Disney's
Caribbean is insane.
That's Shanghai,
That's
I think.
Oh, it
Shanghai.
is?
Yeah, yeah. No,
No,
no.
no, but I mean, look at the investment. I mean, Beauty and the Beast, a whole land and a brand
Yeah.
new ride, and then they're not afraid. They're completely updating Space Mountain, which I think is interesting. And then I mean, Fantasy Springs. How much did they invest in a
Fantasy Springs
brand?
is also enormous. When I was there
Yeah,
last summer, I mean, it is like triple the size of Fantasyland in
no,
the
no,
Magic
and
Kingdom. It's
Really?
huge. Yeah.
even France. I mean, they're completely overhauling their studio. I mean, Studios Park is the worst Disney park. Everyone
Yeah.
knows that, so it was
Sure.
Yeah.
needed. But at the same time, it's just like you're seeing all this investment abroad, and it's really interesting because, like, yeah, here it's like I think it ultimately comes down to the competition here is literally limited by two parks, so all they have to do is exchange punches. Okay, you opened one land, I opened one land. You did this, I opened that. Um, you don't really have anything competing versus in Europe. I mean, also, I think a lot of it just comes down to what the audiences expect.
Right.
I think Europeans and the European market and the Asian market just so much just have a lot better in terms of things to see that aren't even theme parks. I mean, if you're in Europe, Europe is experiential on its own because
Sure.
it's pure history. And I mean, Asia has, again, it's one of those beautiful places you could ever visit. So like you're intrinsically competing with what ends up being, just beautiful tourism that the places offer and what people expect. And then we'll talk about later, like, the regional parks, which that's a whole other can of worms. But I,
Sure.
I don't know. I just don't think there's not that, here there's no need. Warner Brothers doesn't have a theme park.
No.
Lionsgate didn't open a theme park.
No.
And even, for a while you could say SeaWorld was a big player in the game, but they've been dead in the water, trying to rebuild since when did Blackfish 2013,
20,
right?
it's somewhere in the early 2010s was when Blackfish
Yeah,
came
and
out.
so like, and they've been just trying to figure out what to do next. So really no one's step up to the plate to compete with the two big boys outside of,
Yeah.
your smaller experiences that are incredible, and they're the competition, but they're not really at that level.
Or
So
even like smaller but still those large brands like Legoland like has opened new parks
That's
in
yeah,
the
true.
Florida.
US, you know. I think upstate New York as well, or not even upstate,
Oh,
like
you're right.
outside of
You're
New
right.
York.
You're
There's
right.
also one
Yeah.
in Texas, I think, because that's where the Peppa Pig theme park is. That's
Yeah,
next to it.
yeah. The
Oh, they
yeah,
opened
the
one in
Peppa Pig
Texas.
stuff. Yeah, they've
Yeah,
Good
been
on them.
opening those
they're like a
Merlin and has been opening some of those more regional experiences that aren't, you know, catering to an entire nation per se, you know?
Maybe you
Yeah.
just don't have to. I mean, maybe the thought process is Disneyland and Disney World are known all over the world, so why do we have to build anywhere else?
Yeah.
At least on the Disney side.
Hmm.
Not quite sure. Universal, on the other hand, has decided, "Oh, we're gonna expand."
We're gonna try. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
think
think
it's really interesting how they've decided to expand part like segmented parts of their overall offerings, you know, whereas like I mean Disney's done that a little bit with like Olani and resorts like that where it's like technically a Disney resort. I guess you could even argue like Disney Cruise Line
the
as a
cruise line. Yeah,
modified
yeah, yeah.
experience of that sort where you're like on a vacation and it's technically Disney, but it's not, you're not immersed in Disney necessarily, you know. And I think it's interesting the decision by Universal to say we have a very lucrative property in Halloween Horror Nights, and that's a nationwide recognized and resonated thing. And we could bring that to other tourism capitals of the US and see how it does. And that might lead to more other experiences maybe that they offer. I mean, Halloween Horror Nights it was a really interesting decision to do it year round. I think that we'll figure out how that does. Obviously, an experience like that in Vegas is gonna do the
It
best in
opens in like
October.
2 weeks. It
Yeah,
opens
it
like
Yeah,
does.
August
August
It's
14th.
14th.
soon.
Yeah.
And then they announced the Chicago one as well. That
Mm.
one's going to be real interesting in terms of like just a case study of how a year-round attraction like that could operate in, you know, a city that's not you know, is recognized but not necessarily, you know, the capital of the US in terms of tourism or, you know, shows and things like that,
Hmm.
experiences outside of maybe their museums and ballparks and things like that. So I think it'll be really interesting there to see kind of how that does, whereas Vegas is really just, you know, it's a lively place year
I
round.
mean, it's
And
sharing the building with Meow Wolf. It's like the perfect
right,
location for it.
exactly. And so I think, but you've seen things like Meow Wolf do really well in odd areas like Santa Fe and Denver.
Hmm.
So, you know, I think it'll be really interesting to see how that kind of turns out. I think that you can see some similar examples abroad, like Universal's decision to go into England when like England, like if you were going to go to one of the major two parks, you were going to France pretty
Yeah,
much, you
right.
know, which is
That's where
pretty.
the Disney resort
So I,
kind of.
I think that'll be pretty interesting too. I imagine that's going to be kind of a crazy shakeup in the European market.
It's a gamble. We'll see.
For sure.
I
I
mean,
mean,
we all remember Euro Disney. That's why we got the
Yeah.
California adventure we got. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's so it's also like we are one country technically, and these are all
Yeah.
projects
But it's
opening in
North
different.
America, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's
I mean,
nothing
it's
in
North,
Canada that
and there's
competes in
nothing in
that way.
South America either. So it's like
Right.
the Americas essentially is these two parks.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, not these two coasts really.
These two
It's
coasts and
it's
four
Southern
resorts, right?
California or Central Florida.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's it.
besides like Cedar Fair
Cedar
or
Point
Six
in
Flags,
Ohio,
I guess.
yeah,
Well,
but
and I mean they own like Canada's Wonderland, I think,
well,
right?
that's true.
In Toronto, I want to say.
It's
But
around. It's in
And they
Ontario,
own
yeah.
Six Flags Mexico now because of the merger.
okay, yeah,
So they do have a park down there. It's just really interesting in the sense of those are the two flagships, right? And
Yeah, of
that's what
course.
is attracting people. Or Cedar Fair is a different conversation because I mean they're still regional parks. They're
yeah,
not trying to be international destinations. But it is interesting to me that yeah, it's like these two essentially is your staple hold on the Americas. Is Disneyland, Universal Studios Hollywood to a lesser extent. I mean that, they're growing, they're doing good.
Hmm.
And then, if you're then you have, Disney World and the Universal Orlando Resort. But that's it, man.
yeah,
I mean, who knows how long SeaWorld Orlando is going to be here for?
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
I mean, and to be fair, they've got some great coasters, but they're really just a coaster park now. And
Yeah.
not to diminish, they did some bad things, and now they're paying the price for it. Um, but at the same time, there's no competition. There's nobody
yeah,
to say you have to be at this level. I mean, maybe, maybe what if, what happens if Meow Wolf decides to open a theme park,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Crazy.
Well, there's
Or
like isn't Mattel opening a park in
yeah,
outside
yeah,
of
yeah. So
Phoenix?
so, so
Really?
it,
I didn't
I
hear.
Mm-hmm.
think I think if like Mattel decides Mr. Mattel's park does well and other big, maybe let's say Lionsgate. I think Lionsgate is opening something in that complex in Vegas. So they're
Oh,
adding
okay.
finally going domestic. I mean, Warner Brothers has really just been licensing stuff out in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Six Flags still has the DC license from
And the
them,
Looney
and then
Tunes.
and Looney Tunes, and then that's about it, right? Oh, and then Universal, I guess, with Potter, they license their
Yeah.
stuff out. But
Yeah.
it's crazy. They have three massive parks, right? They have the one in Abu Dhabi or in somewhere in Dubai or something like that, and then they
Mm-hmm.
have one in Madrid, one in Germany, I think, and they have the one
Yeah,
in
Park Movie World or something.
yeah, and they have the one in Australia,
Yeah, the Gold
which
Coast.
the Gold Coast, which is like that's their theme park hub. So they've been expanding. They haven't touched the U.S. market. And I mean, maybe it is also if you are another property, you're like, I cannot compete with
Do you
the
think
big
that's
boys.
it, right? Like they just have like succumbed to the case of
Yeah.
Warner Brothers, right? It's an interesting case study because they've opened again in that this 20-year stagnant stretch of the North American theme park market. Warner Brothers has opened 3 parks.
Yeah.
And maybe the Gold Coast one was in the 90s. I'm not entirely positive, but like in that period of time where there wasn't a lot going on, they
Do you
decided
almost
to
feel
invest
like
over there.
maybe it's a not even like branding, but like the name resonating with people of like even if what we can do could be better production value wise and possibly do we still lose out because everybody's already like, well, my whole family's been going to Disney for the last
Yeah,
50
yeah.
years,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's, to an extent. Again, it's for a long time, I think you could have said that. For a long time, you could have said, "There's
Yeah.
no way we're ever going to compete in the big boy theme park game with Disney." But now Universal is competing with Disney, and Universal is making a very clear strategic play to overtake them in a lot of ways. So
Yeah.
why not? And I mean, like we said before, the Meow Wolves and the other immersive experiences out there that have the money and are doing well are competing in their own way, right? So like I think now is the moment. Like if anything, I think Universal is showing that Disney can bleed,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And it is a question of do other companies, studios, big IP holders, people with the actual financial backing to really compete at that level say, "Oh, okay, like this is no longer the
A
80s, the
two-horse
90s,
race,
right,
yeah.
where it had to be that."
I mean, for the longest time, it was only a Disney race, right? Like Universal was
Yeah,
always kind of in the shadow,
in the second place.
and they just have been, post 2000. When did the Transformers open? 2008 on. They've just been like aggressively going after the crown. I'm thinking of what was the last like really middling Universal ride, and it was probably Transform. I mean, Jimmy Fallon and that stuff, but USF is.
A Villain Con
Oh
that
yeah,
opens.
yeah. I forget about VillainCon. But I'm saying like in terms of like the big expansions being like just kind of nothing burgers. They've really kind of obviously like what I'm saying is Potter, right? Potter happened. They started
Yeah.
building like
Yeah.
crazy
It's like, why
immersive
are you like
lands.
bouncing around the thing that we're
Yeah,
talking
it's
about?
I'm talking about Potter. That was when they kind of realized like, oh, we can do this,
We can play.
we can play. And I think you brought up the Horror Unleashed in Las Vegas. I think that's fascinating because it's almost Universal seeking out more competition in a sense. Where they're
Yeah.
like, okay, we're gonna get into Vegas and we're gonna, be the head honcho over here. And I mean, who knows how it's gonna do? I assume pretty well. Um, and just that name, right? Toby, or maybe Elaine said it was like Halloween Horror Nights in and of itself is like an intellectual property name. Like that's something, especially from Las Vegas. People go to Hollywood probably every year for the haunt events.
Yeah.
And the only other haunt there is at Adventure Dome, and it's like incredibly sketch and like messy and a disaster.
I am so surprised that place is still running.
I mean, it can't be for much longer. I think they still like you go on rides with tickets. I think it's like a carnival.
God.
It's also like kind of off this. It's. I mean, yeah, the entertainment landscape was changing there, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just And the innovation outside of the US has been incredible.
And
I
that's kind
mean,
of what I really think is the weirdest part of this is not just like you
dude,
said,
yeah.
Toby, it's not just expansion for expansion's sake, it's high quality expansion and risk
Yeah.
taking too.
Dude, let's look at Shanghai. When they opened with, Tron, which became like, just a clone here, but
Such a
like that
popular
shows you
attraction, they brought it to the US markets, right?
the
Yeah.
success of that. Battle for Sunken Treasure, which is like considered to be probably up there in one of the top dark rides. And then again, like Beijing Universal. Everybody in the game and this industry talks about that Jurassic, because that's like the Jurassic Park ride. It's crazy that like even the one that Spielberg worked on out here, the OG, which to give them credit, is a fantastic ride. um that one just blows it. That is like the best we've ever seen. Like that is, I don't really usually watch ride throughs, but I've seen clips of that ride and it is mind blowing. And then even, go past that, right? Disney Springs, you didn't have to go that hard for essentially like we had the Fantasyland expansion out here in Florida in like the mid 2010, something like that, and that was like this big thing. And then Fantasy Springs blows it out of the water. Fantasy Springs opened with essentially three D tickets. If you are not a theme park person, E ticket is like big blockbuster type ride. D ticket is slightly below that, but D tickets slash E tickets that are all incredible. You
I
built
would
an
argue it's
entire,
2 E-tickets and 2 D-tickets because
which is still
Pan
like
is the
saying,
Peter Pan there is basically the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, which to me is an E-ticket with Peter Pan. And then
yeah,
Frozen is like it's like Frozen Ever After, but
but better.
200%
Dude,
better with
Can
incredible
anything
technology.
can anything be more of an e-ticket than Spider-Man?
Dude,
Web
it's been
So
slingers.
good.
it's been one of the best attractions in the
Web
world
slingers?
since
Web
the
slingers.
mid-90s.
No, but it's really interesting because like usually when you get even when you get a park expansion here out in the States, you get one e-ticket, one big,
Mhm.
anchor attraction for a land, and then maybe you get a supplementary attraction,
Right.
right? Or
Yeah.
you get, Avengers Campus, which opens with no
None
e-ticket
with a
really.
previously opened e-ticket.
Open e-ticket. Or even, hey, Toy Story Land, same thing, right? Like you look at that and it's like it's a
A
coaster, a
previ-
family
a
coaster.
previously opened e-ticket that was already something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
A reopened, rewrapped e-ticket.
and I did they did the exact same thing with Toy Story. Like they literally opened, because Toy Story Midway Mania was already there, it was
That's
popular.
true.
And then they just threw in, a spinner ride, which to be fair, the land is beautiful. It's very well themed. It's just a matter of you really didn't open anything. And even Galaxy's Edge, right? This was your big landmark, your big landmark thing that you were supposed to change the industry with and have your Potter moment with. And you opened with, again, one of the best dark rides of all time, but then like a ride that is a walk on
Yeah.
in any,
It's effectively an evolution of Star Tours,
it is.
but with
And
the
so,
Would
Millennium
you call
Falcon
that an
set.
e-ticket and a d-ticket?
I don't think it's an e-ticket.
I think that they would classify it as 2 e-tickets, but no.
No, it's
I would
not. It
say
really is
Rise of the
not.
Resistance is every sense of the word an e-ticket.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And then Falcon is, a D.
Yeah, and it's crazy even opening a new ride. Let's look at another older expansion to the Tokyo Disney Sea. They opened Soarin', but they opened
Sure.
a Soarin' with one of the most beautiful pre-shows and queues you've ever
Mhm.
seen it. Like they went above and beyond to make it incredible. And then Hong Kong, you get not Phantom Manor,
Phantom
Mystic
Manor
Manor,
is yeah,
Mystic
Mystic
Manor.
Manor, yeah.
Mystic Manor, which is like an original
A
property too,
completely new
completely
Yeah.
idea.
original,
Yeah.
and
Wild.
like and considered again another one of the top 10 dark rides probably in many people's lists of all time. Even the Rapids rides in Shanghai, I heard there's
Yeah.
that
Completely
giant like
original theme.
animatronic,
And
like that
yes,
giant
enormous
monster,
crocodile. Yes.
so. And and they're redoing Space Mountain, which isn't
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
awesome. Like, I'm, obviously like I love Space Mountain, and I think at Disneyland, I don't know if you could ever touch it or because Disneyland is pretty good, and it's very, Disneyland is the park that you can't touch things in. It's just is.
Right.
They
Uh,
haven't
Yeah.
they
You
but
haven't
can
gotten
add
there
to
yet.
it, but you can't really adjust.
but it's so crazy to me that you decided to clone an international ride at Disney World and not and now you have a much newer shiny coaster next to Space Mountain over
The
there, which
same
is like
70s track Space Mountain. At least the Disney one was retracked in
not
Disneyland.
even a good one, not even the good Space Mountain, like the bad one. And then in Tokyo, you're like, yeah, we're gonna put a ton of money into redoing this.
And
So
I know, okay, so I know everyone who knows what they're talking about or is familiar with this world is going to be like, but the Oriental Land Company. And it's like, that's true. The Oriental Land Company does put an obscene amount of money into the Tokyo parks. And the Tokyo parks are sort of their own thing for that reason.
Mhm.
But the fact that that company has taken, basically they licensed the Disney IP is kind of the most bare bones way you can put it. It's more of a collaboration with Imagineering, but like Disney corporate's kind of cut out of it. But they not only have they opened, Fantasy Springs, which is an enormous expansion to a theme park, but that park itself opened in 2001. And Tokyo Disney Sea, when it opened, had like it was entirely original attractions. There was such little IP. There was like an indoor Little Mermaid area that's still there that no one goes to. But like they built an entire
It's
they're
kind of
big.
cool though.
It's kind of neat, yeah, for sure. But their like whole flagship thing was like the Mysterious Island, which was like an incredibly loose adaptation of a Jules Verne
Jules
novel
Verne, yeah.
with 2 spin-off attractions based on other Jules Verne novels. And it is regarded by like most theme park heads as like
As the best park in the world.
if not the best park in the world, like the second or third best park in the world.
It's super funny too because I think about did you go on Sinbad when you were over there, Spence?
It was the only ride in Disney Sea that was under refurbishment. Yeah.
That ride
I know.
is probably one of their best. It is
Yeah.
incredible, and it is basically Small World with modern day budget and modern day
telling a
figures.
complete story
Their
and less
story,
like just an
it's
idea.
no, I mean that one is if you ever get to go Lane or you go back, Spence,
Yeah.
that particular attraction is a masterpiece. And no one goes, it's a people eater, so it's usually a walk on. I don't know. I mean, I just
But it's not just Japan, right? Like they're obviously doing incredible things there, and there's some ways you can make the connection of, oh, it's the OLC putting tons more money in and willing to make these big swings. But like in Paris, right? So Euro Disney is like was their kind of their flub at the time. Like it just didn't sell. And there's a conversation to be had about Europe, which I hope we have in a little bit, about kind of how Europe is a very weird market for these kinds of things. And American IP don't necessarily translate there in the same way.
Building a castle in Europe doesn't really mean much.
Doesn't really connect in the same way. But like the
here it's like, oh my god, it's a castle.
Yeah.
I never saw this.
Even then though, like Disneyland Paris has like kind of wacky original concepts. They have like Phantom Manor, which people adore.
Under the castle,
yeah,
dude.
and like just a completely original design dragon.
Steampunk Tomorrowland.
Yeah. Originally very Jules Verne, Voyage to the Moon. Like they were doing interesting things, and this was what was it the 80s, 90s when Euro Disney opened. 80s was Tokyo Disneyland was their first expansion internationally.
All Eisner, baby.
Yeah, that guy was willing to do crazy things. But then Universal gets in the game in 2000 something with Universal Japan, and then Singapore, and then Beijing, and whatever. But they're also doing kind of clever original ideas. I mean, obviously the Disney Asian parks are very lauded for that, and Tokyo, like we just said, is its own thing. But like Hong Kong Disneyland has like unique to itself IP and original attractions, and Shanghai Disneyland has unique to itself IP and original attractions. And you know what's so crazy is Imagineering went so hard on those. They created an interconnected universe of characters called like the SEA, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. Like while we were in, California getting clones of everything in Florida, and then they did Galaxy's Edge, which is also a clone of what was in Florida, like
dude, not even that. What is that character in Japan, that little teddy bear that everyone is obsessed with? Duffy. They have their own like merchandise thing that is huge and has an original character that has become, I'm sure a major source of revenue and excitement for that brand.
Dude, people will queue up outside those stores
for Duffy.
Hours for Duffy stuff.
Oh, they'll do the same for that little pumpkin, Little Boo.
Little Boo.
I love Little Boo. I'm a big Little Boo boy.
This new thing called Captain Cacao at Epic Universe is a big
Epic
deal
Universe,
as well.
yeah.
He's like a little bear.
Little Boo, for those of you that don't know, is the mascot of the main mascot. I feel like at least recently
Now,
of Horror
yeah.
Nights. Yeah,
He's
it's the
just like a little
cutesy.
derpy looking pumpkin.
Yeah, he's a
That's
cutesy
it.
pumpkin.
Yeah, he was just in
Cutesy
Wicked
little
Growth, and
jack-o'-lantern.
someone took a picture of him, and it went viral because it looks
Used to-
ridiculous.
I feel like it used to be more the clown guy,
Jack,
right?
yeah, Jack the Clown.
Jack the Clown, yeah. But
Yeah,
not
Jack
as much
I mean,
anymore. I feel like.
I'm sure they'll bring him back. He's more for the diehards. I think
Yeah.
I
Little
think it's
Boo is for the
heavily rumored
casuals.
he's going to be in
Yeah,
Vegas.
they're letting him fade, and then they'll
He
bring
is
him
in
back.
Vegas.
Yeah.
I think they've
Yeah.
shown concept art with him in Vegas.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and then you have other things, even on the event side of those international parks. I mean, I think
Sure.
Hong Kong, Disneyland did actual haunts for a while, which is crazy. Like a
Mhm.
Disney park doing haunts, you know, and taking a
Oh my
darker side of
God,
their
yeah.
IP.
What was the theming? It was something.
Alice in Wonderland, I think it
That's
was like the
right, it was
Mad
one of-
Hatter were
Mhm.
actually mad, and there's a whole
Whoa.
parallel like
it was like
storyline.
actually crazy that they were
God.
doing that
That's-
and taking that risk. So
And then Japan does like Universal Japan does events nonstop and has overlays and special activations. I mean, you know, it's Japan and the anime market is a monster,
sure.
but they're still doing different stuff. I mean, and then I think Spencer, we talked about this before, not on the podcast, but like Japan has original coasters and original
Yeah,
things
for sure.
that are
Like Space
Yeah.
Dream and the Flying Dinosaur is technically Jurassic, but like not really. It's just kind of
Yeah.
a themed
Okay.
coaster
Yeah.
to being a pteranodon.
Yeah. And I'm trying to
No
think of
Chris
other.
Pratt though.
No, it's like
No,
pretty
they
much
don't need- they
entirely
don't
its
need
own
Chris
thing.
Pratt.
Tough.
They just
Um,
like these. They're all both companies, right, are willing to take big swings, and maybe because they're trying to be attractive to said international market. But
Mhm.
I think for so long, right, the argument with Disney would have been, you know, the center, the nucleus of all the theme park stuff is Orlando, right? Walt Disney World's their flagship resort. I don't like resort, sure. There's a million hotels there. But
Yeah.
I don't know that I agree that it's the heartbeat of like the creativity in the parks anymore. I'd probably go to Tokyo. Or I'd go to Hong Kong or Shanghai. Like they're the ones that have been getting these incredibly themed expansions, and even Paris. I mean, Walt Disney Studios was like famously a disaster that opened at the same time as DCA relatively and was also a big flop. But they've like put so much money now into
Yeah.
retrofitting that park and making it work, and it's just like we didn't get. I mean, obviously Cars Land, and I don't want to downplay Cars Land was like a big deal in DCA, but like Disneyland proper and the parks in Florida didn't really get anything until Galaxy's Edge for like a
Yeah.
long time.
And
Pandora.
you know,
No,
yeah, you can. It's interesting because I think Disneyland proper can get a pass. It's the funniest thing to me is that I don't think any of the Orlando parks come close to Disneyland Park, and I know that's but Disneyland Park can survive on that alone. Disneyland Park is the OG. Disneyland Park is the history. It is the one that started it all. That's fine. And like Disneyland Park is both a theme park and a museum. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And that's why it will always have that place. But it's interesting in the Orlando market. Like, yeah, I mean, what truly unique Florida only projects have they gotten that are
That-
worth visiting for?
that's what I was gonna say, right? Like, I
Pandora.
can, yeah, Pandora, and I can glaze Universal all day long, and I will. I'm a big Universal head, but like, the Florida parks, sans Potter, like had nothing new for like 15 years,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then Potter happened, but then Potter was like the death of the only original land in Islands of Adventure, right? So like,
Yeah.
I'm obviously okay with it because Potter was amazing, but like they immediately went for the thing that wasn't, you know, they immediately said, okay, we'll take out
Yeah.
Marvelwood, right? Like take out the
Yeah.
original thing because the other stuff is going to be IP. And so it's kind of like Universal's not afraid to do original stuff. Obviously, Epic, notwithstanding, Epic is, we have to take Epic out of the equation for this conversation to happen because it just completely threw everything on its head.
Right.
And there is like original stuff in Epic and whatnot, but I don't know. It's just like, well, why was it not here? I mean, I get it's not like money and the
Talking
market.
about a park
maybe
that sells T-shirts of their old rides that they've gotten rid of.
there's and like there's
Dude, USF is a hot
it's like
mess.
advertises half of a park that's not there. Like
Yeah.
in their ads,
Yeah,
they're
they're
like
like,
they have,
"Ride
like Back
King
to the
Kong."
Future and King Kong, and you're like, it's not even
Yeah.
there anymore.
Yeah, ride Jaws.
Yeah, exactly. But Jaws is like still in Japan, and it's like super well done
Oh no,
and upkept.
I think
Did
it
it just
closed.
close?
I
Oh,
think
that's
it closed
sad.
this year or last year.
That's sad.
Unfortunately, rest in peace. You know,
Rest in
Jaws. I
peace,
never got
Jaws,
to.
for good this time. But
Um,
I don't know. I just think it's weird. I get what you're saying, Toby, in terms of like funding and competition, and that's interesting. And it's almost like they don't feel like they have to be bold because they're
yeah.
gonna. Universal has been, right, but like Disney, I guess, doesn't feel like they have to be bold. And then internationally, it's almost like they have to resell themselves to said market.
And I think this is a great segue into
Yeah,
my second point of this, which is the regional non-big boy parks
yeah,
in outside the US are mind blowing.
yeah.
And we can talk about the Efteling, which is this park in the Netherlands or
It's in the
somewhere.
Netherlands. Yeah,
Yeah, it's in the Netherlands, and they are all based on fairy tales, but they built incredible dark rides
it's
that
like
are like,
not fairy tales though in the American sense. It's like Grimm's brothers, like kind of dark
yeah, it's
fairy
like original,
tales.
and they're like incredibly. They use, they use trackless ride vehicles.
Hmm.
They theme everything up like it's insane how hard they work. And then you've got Phantasialand. I think that's in France.
Park Asterix in France as
Parc
well.
Asterix, and these it's crazy. All of Europa Park in Germany, um, and
Alton
Spain,
Towers.
Alton Towers,
England,
and
yeah.
what's the other one that they have? They have another big one in England
Like
outside of Alton
Blackpool
Tower.
Pleasure Beach or
No, 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 no,
something.
no, no, no. Oh,
Some
Oh, you're right. Thorpe.
Thorpe.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thorpe
Thorpe
Park.
Yes.
Park, Thorpe Park, and then you've got and then Asia too. I mean, Asia, we would have to get they've got a bunch of big market parks that are not either market, and then Middle East. SeaWorld has their biggest theme park ever. You've got Ferrari Land out there. You've got Lionsgate. You've got the Warner Park. And then, again in Madrid, you have the Warner Park there. Then you have near Barcelona, you've got PortAventura, which is two theme parks. Technically, it's a whole resort. But the crazy thing about those parks is that they are not amusement parks. They don't feel like regional parks. They are very well themed. They're
Hmm.
immersive. They invest a lot in making them pretty unique theme parks. I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen Phantasialand has like Talon, I think it's called, as a coaster. Like you're like traversing like a bunch of like rock work, and it's incredible and it's beautiful. And I mean, Efteling is like a dream park. I mean, you look at that thing and
Yeah.
that's not even, and it's all original. So like I think the sensibilities there are very different, and those are not places where the theme park market began, or there is not those big names. So those other parks got to establish themselves and grow and become their own household names within those markets that are beautiful theme parks. And so Disney, Universal, when the big boys came in, they could not sit back and say, "Hey, we're Disney," or "Hey." I mean, for a while, I think with a big park with Europe, problem with Euro Disney was like nobody wanted a Disney park in Europe.
Especially in France. Of all the European
Yeah, what a
countries, like
bad place to
that's a
choose.
really big swing. Like French people are famously very protective and I don't mean it the way it's going to come off, but like kind of elitist about like what is
Oh, yeah, they
art
are.
and what isn't.
I
It's
mean,
probably to a strength. I mean, the French are,
dude,
the Louvre and all that. So
look at Alton Towers in England with in Great
dude,
Britain with
Nemesis. They have a roller
Nemesis.
coaster that's themed inside like the stomach of a giant alien. It's like bizarre, like horror carved out. Like Toby, you hit a really good point, which is these parks created their own identity
Yep.
on their own. And so when you have these two mega giants who are trying to expand because, more money, right? And in the US parks, they can kind of rest on their laurels of being I'm Disney and I'm Universal, and Universal, like you've said a million times,
Had
is
to
like
work for
fighting
it
that
for a
fight,
while.
but like
Yeah.
they're there now.
Yeah.
But in like
We
when
all
they go
remember
into Europe,
Backdraft.
it's like, yeah, everyone remembers Backdraft, of course.
Twister.
Twister,
Those were
Ride
the
It
good
Out,
days.
dude, Ride It Out.
Twister, write it out, man.
Ride it out. Yeah.
But it's like they when you're
Steven.
opening specifically your Universal Great Britain, I'm fascinated by how it's going to do because like yeah, Alton Towers and Thorpe are there, but like Disney
Do you think it's going to
nothing
be a
hasn't tried
similar
there.
do you think it's going to be a similar thing where it's like those parks are established and people are going to be like, I don't know, my family's always gone to Alton Towers.
Yeah, right. I
know?
don't know. I like
Well,
That'll
you're
be
they're
so
trying
you're
interesting.
gonna
to,
have to compete. You're gonna have to
Yeah,
put in the big bucks
and the
behind it
rumor
and
is
say,
that they're going after Lord of the Rings, and that
yeah,
is the game changer. Where if you
sure.
build a full
yeah,
size
But,
Shire
like,
and
think
all
about
of
how long
that
Alton Towers has been around.
forever,
Like
yeah,
it's
literally like
probably
the eight.
yeah, it's
yeah,
probably like a similar thing to Disney
the
here.
cultural
Maybe
impact of
I mean I can't
Disneyland,
speak for
yeah.
that, but I would imagine that when I was growing up in Northern California, it's like my dad as a kid went to Disneyland, his dad went to Disneyland. Like so for us it was just we were going to Disneyland unless we were trying to save money and went to
Six Flags, the Animal
so,
Kingdom, whatever
yeah,
the hell
Six
it's called,
Flags
Discovery Kingdom.
Discovery Kingdom.
Yeah,
at the time
Marine World.
Marine World,
Yeah,
yeah, at the time.
That's
So
interesting because on the domestic side, and this is not throwing shade at any of these parks. It's just they never tried. They can. I mean, maybe in early '60s when Disneyland first opened and '50s around
mhm,
that area, you had parks competing. Like I think Six Flags Over Texas was built to
yeah.
try to compete with that, and you had some legacy parks. The Busch Gardens parks, original. I'm talking like when the Bush family still owned them and they were a thing. Like they were
when they
trying to
were
really
the
go,
Anheuser-Busch parks to like Bud
yeah,
Light product
Oh
placement all
yeah,
throughout
yeah,
that
yeah,
park.
right, yeah. So, but back
dude, like
then,
Hershey Park is still a thing.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, I
in
totally forgot.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania,
in
yeah, yeah.
Pennsylvania.
But those parks aren't trying to. I think isn't there a Meow Wolf ride in Hershey Park? I think there is a Meow Wolf
There
ride in
was for the
Hershey.
longest time like a dark ride with animatronics. I don't know if Meow Wolf took over that or
No, I
what,
think
but
Meow Wolf took over a ride in Hershey Park.
Really?
There's a
interesting.
Meow Wolf ride
Was
in
Hershey
Hershey
Park
Park.
the one with the water ride with the dragon in it or something? Because it's like isn't like a big part of Hershey Park at least a water attraction? Like a
No, Hershey
There's
Park's a coaster park.
I think there's a water park
there is a water
connected to
park.
it maybe.
Yeah, and there's like
I don't
I want
know.
to say some pretty impressive stuff there. I don't know.
It's
I'm
like
not a
I
water
themed
park
around
guy, so I
candy.
have no idea what the
I
bar
I
is for that.
I just feel like in the States, parks felt like, well, we can't compete with these parks on the theming side or the immersive side of
Let's just
things, so
build
we're gonna
Sure.
coasters.
coasters. And I mean,
Yeah.
look, to be fair, I don't think you're gonna find a better collection of roller coasters in the world outside of the US. I mean, we have some of the best, mind-blowing coasters out there, but that kinda became the safety thing for regional parks was, like, build coasters, and maybe you can blame that on Six Flags and Cedar Fair taking over, and that was their business model, which again worked for some time. Um, but they never had to compete as a theme park, and they never tried to. They're like, we maybe like I said, early '60s first opening. I think abroad you have parks that really embrace the theme park side and not just the coaster side. And
Do you
Yeah.
think
I
it's like
mean that's
something
just
to
a
do with the
deviation.
difference in the demographic too though? Like do you think
Oh, yeah,
like Europe being obviously a very particular market, right? Like people wanting more out of like I don't think Europe has the same like adrenaline
junkie
junkie
thing that we
thrill
have.
Mhm.
appeal that the US market does. So I wonder if they yeah, if it's just that's what the people there want. Like they wouldn't have responded to coasters. 'Cause I think part of it too with Cedar and Six Flags and Hershend, which Dollywood and Silver Dollar City are kind of their own kind of weird in between, like Knott's Berry Farm. But I
Sure,
think
sure.
that it's cheaper to build coasters.
Mm.
It's more bang for your buck, right? Like coasters
But
aren't cheap,
it's so much cheaper.
but like to compared to spending like what did Monsters Unchained cost, like freaking 20 30 billions millions, I don't know, on its own, like
And
absurd amount of money to
One
build that
yeah,
trillion
attraction,
dollar.
and it's one ride, right? And it's by all accounts it's probably the new best dark ride in the world, and none of us have experienced it, but soon. And but
Oh
even
yeah, right on, Spencer.
yeah. And then but in the European parks, like half of the stuff is dark rides. Half of the coasters have a dark ride element. Toby, you were talking about this crazy ride about a vineyard roller coaster that's a vineyard with monkeys
my
in it, like which is the
god.
best
Oh
thing I've ever
yeah.
heard. Like
Yeah, there's a coaster in Portaventura in
mm-hmm.
Spain that I went to, and yeah, it's a weird. It's like an X-wing coaster, which is a particular model, but they made it for it was Intamin who made it, and they don't. That's not usually their thing. That's usually like a SNS or I mean they're the free fall or I'm going coaster head right now, or
These are
B and M
coaster
that makes those.
manufacturers to the layman listener that he's rattling
Yeah,
off.
sorry, sorry. But the funniest thing is like it's a vineyard coaster, and there's just it's monkeys that get into a vineyard and unleash mayhem. And there's like effects and a bunch of and like, again, I'm not, shitting on Six Flags or Cedar Fair, but like you go on a coaster at most of these parks, it's the color scheme and it's on a parking lot and that's the ride.
Yeah.
And
I used to joke that Six Flags would, with their DC license, they paint things black, they name it Batman, they paint things red, they name it The Flash. Like that's what they do.
but it wasn't always. I mean, did you remember? Did you go on like the? Do you remember the like going on Riddler's Revenge out in
Yeah, or
Magic
Batman the
Mountain?
Ride had like an awesome queue to
Really
begin with.
cool
Yeah.
cues that
It
were
was
like
almost like
really.
they were still attempting, especially in the LA market,
Oh yeah, the market
trying
over there.
to put a foot down of like or a stake in the
And
ground of like, we
do,
can do this, and then they stopped.
did you ever get to go on Battle for Metropolis?
No, no, I haven't.
That was a really impressive dark
Did it
ride.
already close at Magic Mountain?
No, it's still there. It's
Oh, it's
just
just
like
crap now.
I don't know. I'm just saying like, that was like a weird I think it was late 2010s that they really went for those, and they built them everywhere. They were like a
Yeah.
big expansion,
There's one in the
and
Chicago parks, there's one in the Texas
yeah,
parks, so they went
I
all
got to
over.
go on the Magic. I was like really impressed. I was like, it's not a huge footprint. It's a pretty small ride, but
Yeah.
like I went when it opened. I haven't been to Magic Mountain in a few years.
Mhm.
Just my preferences. I'll put it that way. Um, I like coasters, but I like themed things. But the really cool thing was like those were really impressive. They had
Yeah.
animatronics, they had like really good integration from screen to I was like, if they do more of this, that's fantastic. But at the same time, I guess that's not their identity.
I guess they
Outside
just
of
didn't get enough of a
Knott's.
return on the bang for their buck, right? Because Knott's for a minute there was also doing dark rides. They brought
Well,
Berry Tales back. They redid the rapids with lots of animatronics. And it's
you
like, did they
can't
see enough sales uptick in that versus opening a new coaster? You know,
Knott's is a different thing because Knott's has a
history.
reputation as a family park too. Like
Hmm.
Knott's is by all intensive purposes like 90% a theme park. There's like
Yeah.
10%, which is the boardwalk, which is like okay, Six Flags, like classic
And
Six
there's like a
Flags.
pseudo parallel history with Disney with the Knott's family, right? A
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
these
Yeah.
dark
yeah.
rides
Yeah.
they've come back around were original. Like Calico Mine was like one of the first things they did. Timber Mountain,
Yeah.
like there's
But
I've heard that Walt Disney actually went and visited Walter Knott.
oh,
oh yeah, they knew each
Like,
other. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they
yeah,
knew each other.
they,
Um,
getting ideas from the little volcano he was building.
yeah,
if
but
if you're unfamiliar, there's a miniature volcano behind Mrs. Knott's Chicken Dinner restaurant at Knott's
I
Berry
didn't know
Farm.
that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's
that.
one of the original attractions in air quotes that Walter Knott built because the line for, as the story goes, the line for Mrs. Knott's Chicken Dinner was getting too long and people were leaving, so he was trying to entertain them
Some kind
while
of
they were waiting.
spectacle.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of
But
how it all started.
I think coming back to it, the Six Flags parks for the most part, and Cedar Fair for the most part, built their identity on coasters and thrills, and that's their demographic. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Most people that go to an amusement park or want coasters, and if you want to go to a theme park, you know that you want to go for thrills. You've got some regional parks, some regional Six
Hmm.
Flags, Cedar Fair park nearby. You want to go for entertainment, you go or immersive or more you know you want to pay the money, you go to a Universal or a Disney park. That's the market in the US. It's always been it. And going back to original, kind of pushing us back, the original thing is just like I think the European parks had to do both. They
Mm.
had to juggle
Yeah,
both those things, right? Because it is just a different demographic.
You have to establish an identity as well
Yeah. Yeah.
as
And
attractions. Yeah.
not just European, sorry, international parks.
Sure.
Europe in particular is
yeah.
just such a fascinating thing to look at
Europe,
because yeah.
I feel like they also take advantage of a lot more of like their culture in general. Like,
For sure.
I mean, I've been to uh it was Tivoli Gardens, I believe,
Oh, it's so
in
cool.
yeah, I went there when we were in Copenhagen, and like they have a wooden coaster there that opened in, I want to say, like 1914, which is older than the Coney Island cyclone. Like it is
Wow.
old, and I think it's called Rushabanen according to Google. I'm sure I butchered that,
Did it beat the
but
crap out of you?
but Yeah, it is absolutely painful, but thrilling, like, a lot of drops, and especially as, like, a taller guy, like, it is definitely like, "Whoa," and, but, I mean, when we visited that park, it was, I wanna say early December, and the whole park, like, they had, like, a lake, a lot of theming, stuff like that, and it's just an old park, like, it's always that amusement park is in the middle of the city, it's always been there type of thing, and the whole park turns into a Christmas market.
That's
So,
amazing.
like, it's not only a theme park, like, you pay to get into the theme park, but then it's different from paying to get onto a ride. Like, you could just pay to get into the park and then go shopping at the Christmas market. So I feel like,
That's interesting.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Knott's has almost done similar things, like,
The Ghost
with
Town
their
Alive or whatever. Yeah.
that, and they do their Christmas market for Knott's Merry Farm,
Hmm.
which felt, when we went there, my fiance is of Ukrainian descent, and so her family all came over during the collapse of the Union, and they felt like it was very European-esque Christmas market,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is just
It's modeled after
interesting.
like Bavarian kind of Christmassy
Yeah.
feeling.
And so it's interesting to see, like, little things like that that even our more national projects pick up, but, like, that stuff like that has existed over there. And that's the thing, is like, that's kind of what I was saying earlier with, like, Alton Towers, is that, like, that's the theme park that people go to there. Like, if you were
Right.
to open another one, like, I'm sure you would get a lot of attention, especially if it was a big company making it, like Disney or Universal. But there is a certain level of, like, this park's in the middle of the city. This is where we've always gone. And it'll be
Yeah.
super interesting how these parks perform over time, I think, because it's kind of getting to a point where not only have these companies that have specialized in foreign projects, like, they've been doing their thing to a very high level, and then uh Universal and Disney have been taking mostly markets that haven't collided with that a whole lot. And now those big players are like, we're going to go for, Abu Dhabi and whatnot. And so it'll be a very interesting situation to see a lot of those, more regional staples, which I would argue that to some extent Disneyland is like a regional staple. Like, if you're outside of the West Coast, you're probably going to Disney World, you know and
That's
so it'll be
interesting.
really
Yeah.
interesting to see kind of how that plays out.
Yeah. So I think, Lane, you hit an interesting point about kind of how those areas, Europe, Asia, whatever, have their own history, have like long history that North America kind of doesn't. The cultural staying power and like the history of America, like, is like reflected in like a Disney, like a big corporate product full of intellectual property, versus like the European parks want and the Asian parks want like stuff that reflects their culture, like that ride in Shanghai you talked about, Toby, the Rapids ride with their
Yeah,
animatronic. That's based on like local lore and
that's
whatnot.
amazing.
And
Well,
so I
we have
think,
the Hall of Presidents, so
yeah, exactly. Like, which is like technically an original concept, but like, who gives a shit? Like, I
what
think
about Walt the Ride? We've got
we
Walt.
got to do a whole episode on that animatronic that just debuted. That
That
is the
thing is
worst. Oh
Canny
my
Valley at its
god,
it's
finest.
not even that. I mean, that thing is just like
what a bad idea.
why would you make a corporate
I f-
founder
I
a
figured
ride?
out what bothers me about it. His, like, dimples don't move.
Yeah,
and
it's not
and
right.
like, I never felt like that archival footage and photos and whatnot that you see of Walt Disney all the time. Like, I never felt like he overly emoted.
Dude, it
Like,
feels culty.
he's never been like a grinny guy,
And the
like,
animatronic is like the most
gritty.
smiling thing,
Yeah, like,
it's
just
like,
smiling the whole time. And I mean, he'd give little, like, smirks and stuff, but I don't recall just, like, seeing him, like, grinning like
he was
that.
like a
And I think,
fairly serious guy.
yeah, and I feel like maybe that to me, like, that's what sets me off about it, is like, that feels weird. It doesn't
No, I
feel like
mean,
him.
I love Walt Disney. I think, for from the creative side, he was amazing. It just feels so dystopian to be
It's
building a
weird.
ride at not whatever, a show, whatever it is, after a CEO. Like,
Yeah.
that is the most, like, you would see that in a movie and kinda laugh. Be like, "Oh, that is
It's weird.
I would not I don't wanna live in
It's
that
like a
reality."
Westworld
It's like,
episode, like, it's just
literally,
odd.
I mean, they've literally made that a thing in those, like, kind of Blade Runner-esque
Mhm.
situations. I mean, even in newer stuff, what's the Apple TV show with Adam Scott? Severance.
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 Like even in that, they
Lumen.
like worship their CEO, which and
Yeah.
that's like it felt kind of like that. It was kind of weird.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
back to
Yeah,
the what
but
were we
to
talking
wrap it
about?
up, I think international parks.
Oh, right.
To wrap it up, I think like it's a combination of these areas having their own storied histories and cultures and whatnot that their markets are more accessible to risks, I guess, creative risk taking. I also think it's, as you hit on, Toby, a lack of competition, a stagnation that just they cannot do much. They cannot take risks. They can just print money with Star Wars, Harry Potter, whatever IP they want to get versus try something big and bold.
Mhm.
So I think that there's just a lot of different reasons. But when you leave the States, if you ever tell anyone, oh, I'm going to Universal blank or Disney blank, a lot of people go like, we have that here. No, you don't. Like these are like unique experiences unto themselves. So don't skip out on international theme parks, any listeners. I think it's worth your time to see them.
Do not skip out on the regional ones too. Those are the real rock.
Exactly.
Those
That's
are
what
the
I'm
rock
saying, like,
stars.
That's
Like,
also what I'm saying. Like, don't skip out on theme parks in other countries.
Tivoli is one of like my main memories from Copenhagen. Like for sure.
Oh, dude, I mean, Portaventure's unhinged, and I love it. Oh,
I mean,
that was
even,
the
like,
Universal Park for a while.
Yeah, it was for a
in the
minute.
early 2000s. Yeah.
Even not even just theme parks though, like this thing called Team Labs in Japan is like these really
Oh,
incredible
I've heard. I
immersive
know
art
they're
exhibits.
amazing. Yeah,
Like there's just
they do
cool
really cool
things
stuff.
in other markets that are more accessible, I guess.
Dude,
to
even the Ghibli,
experimentation.
the Ghibli Park. That's not
For
a theme
sure.
park.
Yeah.
It's a theme park, no
The Ghibli
rides, but it's
Museum
just
is like basically a theme park in that sense. It's like
yeah.
it's like
They
hyper.
do
It's a very interesting museum.
they do
experience. You
amazing
can look
stuff
it
out
up
there.
if you've. Yeah, it's all that to say. Toby, if you had a final thought on this
No, I mean,
conversation,
I just want to move on to like. I think we're on the verge of entering some brave new territory in the
For sure.
States
Would say
and
so.
abroad too, because I think it's really interesting right now. Disney took the most safe, predictable route, which is the Middle East, which is like,
Mhm.
I mean, again, they have tons of money. They're investing in tourism like crazy. And of course, there are the downsides of that politically and human rights and all that fun stuff. But that is a safe bet. It's like, we're going to open a park in the Middle East. Okay, cool.
It's
Yeah,
where
everyone
there's
else
a
is.
huge amount of funding.
Exactly. But the fact that Universal is going into the UK, that is really
Fascinating,
interesting.
yeah.
That is interesting.
Like,
That is
Elaine, I think
beyond
you have a
interesting.
really interesting point. Like, that's not a market. Like, that's a market where Alton Towers and Thorpe and whatever like is their theme park.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be interesting.
Unless you're going through the tunnel to France or flying to Orlando.
Right.
From what I mean,
there's a
from
lot
what
of
I've
British
seen.
tourism in Orlando, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. And even like competing with, Universal Park specifically, competing with the Warner Brothers Harry Potter tour. The studio tour there is like a themed attraction on its own, So it's really interesting. Like they're going to have to really reinvent because I assume they're building a studios park. That's kind of what they do with every market they go to. They have to like plant
I
their
truly
flag.
don't.
Feels
There's
like
very
right?
It'd
there's
be
very little.
fascinating if it's like an island.
Every
or an
Universal
epic style
has
park.
that like weird like studio entrance,
The
right?
globe, yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I don't
globe.
know what they're gonna do. There's not very much out there. It's
There's like
some
just some
basic
concept art that people think is Lord of the Rings, and maybe Bond is something I heard as well.
But they're going
Yeah,
there, and
they're
they're
going.
entering that market. And I think moving domestically, and what we've seen is, like we said, for the longest time, lack of competition. That is probably changing. Like we said, Mattel's building a park.
Yeah,
Mattel is building a park.
Barbie attractions will draw crowds. Absolutely,
for sure.
That'll be
Hot
interesting.
Wheels.
Hot Wheels
coaster
too. Hot Wheels roller
is like a
coaster.
thing.
Printing money.
No. And the immersive industry, like we said in earlier episodes, is broken open. So now I am hoping, and then of course we have Universal. Universal kind of is I'm hoping they shake things up because they're
kind
building,
of trying to.
They're kind of doing
like
the opposite of Disney, like in a way that Disney has continuously, frankly, like Universal's prices have certainly gone up this year with the opening of Epic, as you'd kind of expect, but the fact that Disney has not opened new parks, has opened some new attractions and stuff like that, but has not made any major strides like that to that extent, and they're raising their prices all the time, it feels like. And I feel like Universal, because Disney, I feel like, at least for Disney World, knows that people are going to travel there.
They're
They
banking
know,
on the history and
yeah,
the
they
culture
know that you're going to
impact.
pay for a flight out there,
Yeah.
and so they can charge kind of whatever they want because you're voting with your wallet. But then Universal is doing, in some ways, they're making their Orlando property more attractive to those
For
travelers,
sure.
but they're also trying to get more into the regional market, it feels like, because they're seeing
To
like
stop
a lot
people
of
from going
people,
to Orlando.
a lot of people are flying less now, at least
Sure.
in North America. Like, a lot of people are traveling less because of inflation and other factors, but a lot of people are traveling less. And so I feel like, I can't say that this is what's happening, but some of these companies like Universal are probably looking at it like, people aren't traveling as much, we'll bring our attractions to them.
Yeah, I
I
mean
I, I
Frisco is
just,
fascinating, right? That's what they're
dude,
building
mad
a theme
respect.
park and like I mean it's designed for kids, right? It's Universal
But
Kids, but
it's still
it's still a
expanding the
Universal
territory.
theme park. And
Yeah.
if that Bikini Bottom land has a Universal quality SpongeBob dark ride, that will be a enormous success.
Dude,
Yeah.
I just cannot believe. Look, they could. If I'm Universal right now, you could easily just rest on your laurels.
And they're not.
You just Islands alone has already become. Islands is probably the best theme park right now, going outside of Epic, because if Epic didn't exist,
Yeah.
Islands is, you could make the argument that our Islands is the best theme park in Central Florida.
One of them, yeah, for sure. I love Islands of Adventure. I love it
But I think it's the
every
most
time I
complete.
go.
I think it's one of the most complete theme parks
It
out
checks
there.
more boxes. It's got
Yeah.
more thrill rides. It's got dark rides. It's
Yeah.
got a lot.
It's got
of
everything.
Yeah.
Regardless, they could rest on that. They're doing well. They just, massive expansions, and then they threw an Epic. So now you've got, a really proper resort in that
Yeah.
market. You're competing with Disney, Universal
3
Hollywood.
new hotels. Like now they're up to like what 8 or 9 hotels.
Yeah,
Like they're
and then
they're in the game. You know.
Hollywood's expanding like crazy. I mean, everyone kind of sees the construction. Everyone knows, like, I think they announced that they're like building a new hotel, like their first ever on property hotel. Like, they are doing well.
Yeah.
And then, you have Frisco, you've got the UK, and then you've got the two Horror Unleashed
Vegas
experiences
and
they're opening.
Chicago. Yeah.
So what that says to me is, like, they are just going after. I'm hoping that this leads to something bigger. That
Mhm.
Disney is forced to respond, or if not Disney, I'm hoping that this means a Lionsgate, a Warner Brothers, a Meow Wolf, a whatever, that it says, "Hey, it's our time now," like Mattel did, and gets into the game. Because,
think
like I said,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I said I think what's interesting specifically with the movie studios is like the rise of experiential marketing, and you've talked about this
Yeah.
before, Toby. But like, I remember when It came out, the Steven Spielberg, the Stephen King adaptation.
That would have been a whimsical Pennywise.
On like the Hollywood Boulevard, they did like an It immersive haunt.
Yeah,
Like
I
they did
totally
that-
forgot.
Warner Brothers
They
has
did
like
that Stranger Things drive-through.
Yeah. Warner
Yeah.
Brothers has like dipped their toe into experiential immersive entertainment before, and they obviously famously tried to do their haunt event experience before COVID, which anyone doesn't know. They did something called Horror Lives Here, where they kind of tried to do
I remember.
horror nights with their own IPs, and
Yeah.
it seemed okay, but COVID happened, and I just don't think they wanted to
Yeah.
reopen it. But I think that there is, to me, some whispers in the wind that I think that they're open to it. I think these things are. I mean, the Lionsgate Park in China has a Twilight Land, and I think if they opened a Twilight something in the States, specifically up in my neck of the woods, unparalleled success. There are so many people that are obsessed with Twilight still. Like the millennial appeal of that, out of control.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw, if you want to see Disney's ingenuity, they're building Burbank in Hollywood Studios.
Say it ain't so.
No, they're turning the animation courtyard into
they're
a
turning it
replica of
yeah.
this, which is I'm like, you're building
I did see
Burbank.
that.
So
Like-
instead of keeping Muppet Vision alive,
They're building the animation.
they're building the animation courtyard.
Yeah.
They're building Burbank. Like,
Instead
I
of
love
just
Burbank.
building Monsters Inc. there, they're just like it's like the Walt thing.
Burbank.
It's like who asked for this?
Man,
because
they've
people
like
from Florida need to see Burbank, man. I love Burbank, so it's a pretty cool town. They have 3 movie theaters.
Do you
They've
think we're gonna get
got
the water
they
tower and everything too?
dude, I don't know. It's just so funny to me that I remember
It's
seeing that and I was like, "So you're building, like, the building 90% of people in LA drive through going to work or something like
it's like they
that?"
Yeah.
sometimes try to throw like red meat to the base, you know? Sometimes they're like, "Oh, the Disney obsessives, you know, we'll give them an animation building where they can learn to draw Mickey Mouse." And it's like, that's not enough
Yeah.
to continue
Sometimes
this
it just comes
dominance
off
when
as
you're in this
like
fight with, you know,
like, wow, you really think you're special.
yeah,
Like,
you know?
like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, I'm
Like
here
outside of your
paying
cult following, like, who
I'm here
cares? Like no parent is
paying to be
stopping for that,
here.
you know?
Yeah, I'm here paying to be here, and now you're teaching me about you?
And maybe I'm just mad because it involved Muppet Vision, and that makes me upset because I
I
love
love
Jim
you, Muppet
Henson. But
Vision. How dare you?
yeah, but it's just like another thing where it's like, okay,
Yeah. Regardless, I think we're at a very interesting point to
yeah,
kind of wrap this all up. At least
absolutely,
this point of conversation, international and why things have grown. My big thing is I think the lack of competition. I'm not saying
yeah.
that's the take. That's my take, and I think that we're
I
at a
think it
point
might
where
be the truth. It seems the most logical.
and I think we're just at a point where competition is finally being like, hey, we're gonna go for it. And the best thing that can happen is like I don't know what happens. Like, I don't know what happens with Cedar Fair, Six Flags, Cedar Fair merger. Like, who knows? Maybe they shut some parks down. They figure out their finances. They find like what are the key markets where they are dominating, and then they're like, "Hey, we're going to splurge on these markets." I mean, I think they announced like a pretty big investment into some of their parks, into the brand.
Yeah, I
Like,
think Cedar Point and some of the big boys are probably getting
which you
the
know what? Listen,
funding.
I'm fine with that. If it means you're closing some of the lower performing parks and you've got whatever,
Yeah,
eight parks nationwide that are really doing well and are like and you can really bring up the money and not just do coasters and make those like something that can compete.
build
Like,
hotels attached to the water
yeah,
parks, like
yeah, yeah.
make it feel more resorty.
And again, Mattel's doing it. If any other people start doing it, the question then becomes is in the next 30 years is Southern California and Florida really gonna be the hubs anymore? Which is, like, also a
Or is
film
it going to
question,
be like a
right?
Texas, you know,
Sure.
or an
Yeah, which is
Arizona? Like,
Yeah.
is there going to be
yeah,
more?
like
I mean, Hollywood is basically based out of Atlanta, Georgia at this point, with how
exactly,
many
you know what I'm
Yeah.
productions
saying?
shoot in Georgia, you know?
So the theme park industry, I mean, I think we're not that far behind, and I
It's
think it's gonna
interesting.
be a matter of who is the smartest and who is willing to take that risk, and we might start getting some really cool parks. Not just regional parks, again, not shitting at them, but when you see
No,
the international stuff, I'm like, "Okay, well, now does Disney say it's time to open a park in Texas too?" Or does, and throw everything under the bus, or does Universal say it, or does Warner Brothers finally say, "Hey, we're opening a park in New York," whatever,
right.
you
Yeah,
know?
right. Does Disney
Um,
reopen the Disney's America vault and try and
dude,
get back
remember?
into Virginia, you know, or and
Ugh,
do these
that would have been
things?
so
Nah, dude, do
sick.
Long Beach, give us the
Queen
Disney Sea we
Mary,
never
give us
got out here.
Westcott. Yeah,
You
yeah.
give us Westcott. But yeah, I think it's interesting, and I do wonder if how long eh, I hate to call out just Disney, but they're the ones resting on their laurels. How long you can say domestically, "Hey, you're gonna come to Florida or you're gonna come to SoCal because we're Disney and we can just throw some IP at something and build, one dark ride every 5 years and maybe, change some things up,
Yeah, I
and
mean, it
that's
feels like
enough."
for the last amount of years, they've been seeing what they can get away with, right? Like getting rid of the Magical
Exactly.
Express, certain things, like
Sure.
removing as many little perks as they can to cut corners. Like where will the line get drawn? And you know, who knows?
Competition.
I
Yeah.
haven't been to a domestic Disney park in many, many years.
Yeah.
And I
I
adore
have
Animal Kingdom, and I have not been in many, many years because
they're not
it's
even
so
open till,
expensive.
like, 6 p.m. They close at
Yeah,
6, it's crazy. I'm like,
and
"That
like a
park's
day
probably
ticket's like
so."
$200, and it's like
Yeah,
I've been
yeah,
on all these
it's
attractions before. You know, I love that park, but I can't justify it when Epic is 150. You
Yeah.
know?
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a brand new
And
park.
it's
I
like
I
this
Yeah,
brand new park is less.
yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. That is in terms of this particular subject matter. I think, yeah, international, they have the competition. They have a lot more to compete with. And for that reason, they have to be at a different level. That has not been the case in the US for years. And I think now, thanks to the Meow Wolves, thanks to the Universals now, thanks to Mattel, thanks to whatever other park I couldn't say the words, other property decides to throw itself in there, and go for it, I think the Orlando market. I don't know about Southern California because it's really a locals market.
It's also so landlocked already, kind
And
of,
not
you know what
even
I'm
that. I
saying?
mean,
Like,
it's people here like work in entertainment and love entertainment, and so
right.
it's like I think Lane said it right. Like so, Disneyland's kind of a regional park. We just
Yeah.
have we just have probably the best regional parks in the world.
Yeah, I
like
mean, for
regional.
sure.
like I live in California. If I was going to go to a Disney park, hands down, I'm going to Florida. Like I have to fly, so I'm probably going to Florida.
Mhm.
Unless,
Wait, what?
like if I was going to go to that, I'm saying that it's a regionals park. Like if I live, being somebody who lives in Colorado, which is like more west of
Oh,
central.
You said California the
you
first time
said
on
Oh, did
accident.
I
California.
really?
Yeah.
I
I'm
was so
flying to
confused.
Orlando.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
like I'm flying to Orlando in that case, because it's like it's not that much longer. It's an hour longer flight or whatever. But like for me, I'm not going to the smaller park if I'm paying that much for a flight
Sure.
anyway. So I feel like outside of the West Coast, really, and maybe the western side of the mountain region, like yeah, it's a pretty locals park, man. Like it
Which is fine.
really
Which
is.
is
Yeah.
fine. That's the charm, and like it will always be like a really good. It's California in general, right? Like
Hmm.
also when you come to California on vacation, you don't come for just the theme parks. You come
No, there's
for
so much else to do.
Right.
No one else goes.
it's
Yeah.
You don't go to
Sure.
Florida for anything but the theme parks.
exactly. But
Or the
that's my
beach.
that's what's interesting to me. I'm like, if these things keep growing, I don't think SoCal's really going to be that impacted by it. I think we'll be fine because like it's such a local diehard fans who love these parks and have grown up with them, and also the seasonal offerings are great and everything. I think Central Florida could be in for a reckoning
That'd be
if
very interesting.
if if we get this expansion out there.
Specifically Texas. If the things start opening in Texas, Texas is not
Oh
that far
yeah.
from Florida.
Oh yeah.
So if
Well, I
Universal
would.
Kids is incredible and you get a say a Hershend or a Merlin or I mean there's a Legoland out there, but whatever. Like
Yeah.
something bigger. Mattel opens a second location in Texas or
Let's see
something.
what happens
There's
with Frisco.
there's right. Frisco's kind of
Hey,
the
like
first shoe to drop on that.
Texas weather ain't great, but it's a hell of a lot better than Florida weather, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
like the threshold has been
It's a lot
crossed.
more
Florida's
temperate than that.
ridiculously hot, So
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
I think
that
I
was
don't
a
know, I
fun
think
abstract conversation.
yeah,
Yeah.
just on like what it's something interesting though, like you're
No,
so on
for
the head.
sure.
Yeah, and I think yeah. Also, yeah, to end
cheaper
this.
flight from both coasts too
Yeah,
That's
for
true.
yeah,
Texas.
That's true.
Yeah.
yeah, much cheaper and much and more accessible to most of America. I mean,
Kind of in the
outside of
between
Yeah.
California and
both,
Florida a
it's
little bit.
literally the
Or
half
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
yeah. So
Easy if you're
I
traveling from Latin America too.
That's true.
yeah, it's true. Because Latin America has always been the Central Florida parks. If Texas
Mhm.
becomes a
Yeah.
market, that gets
That
really
would be a
interesting.
major shakeup. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, Central Florida might be in for reckoning. Which will I don't know. Okay, cool. Well, I think that wraps that part of the episode up, right? I think we can move
Mhm.
on to cool stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Segment.
Cool stuff.
All
What's
right, Lane,
something
you feel
cool?
like you've had the least to say this episode
Yeah,
because
Lane,
you
this
haven't been
is
as
tell us
knowledgeable.
something
So
cool, man.
hit us something cool.
So it's funny, like right nearby where I work, they opened recently I don't know if the chain has spread to like where you guys are on the West Coast, but there's a Beat the Bomb.
No, I've not heard of
Heard of
that.
it.
And so like I kind of compare it to, it's a social game, right? And so I feel like it's in the same realm of escape rooms, axe throwing,
Oh, okay.
shit like that. And
Sure.
so immersive, but definitely, social gaming type of thing. And it is essentially like if you've ever played the game, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, I want to say. But one player has the bomb and then the other player has the manual and can't see the bomb and they're explaining it.
Oh,
So
I
like
remember this. Yeah,
social
the VR
games.
game.
So yeah, social games like that. And so I think it definitely takes some sort of inspiration from games like that.
Is it kind of like
But
Werewolf, where it was like one person's the werewolf and they have to like
No,
roll?
no, no.
No,
It's
no,
like
not quite.
it was a big VR game for a while.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's about figuring out the solution with somebody who can't see what you're doing, essentially. So
I've
there's
seen this.
definitely
Yeah.
certain elements from that I feel like are taken from it, but it's a series of challenges that you have to go through with your team, and then if you fail, you get either slimed, foamed, or I think some like blue gel or something like. But you get absolutely slimed no matter what. And so that's a new thing. But the brilliant thing about it from an immersive perspective is they can hit several different audiences, because you don't have to do that part. You can go there and just, it's also a bar and restaurant. So you can go there and just eat, or you can go there and just have a drink. So I went there with some coworkers. We just had a drink and watched people get slimed. So it's pretty fun, you
How
know?
many
Like
are there? How many are there like
there's
nationwide?
I want to say it's a bit of a smaller brand, but I want to say it's a chain. Like I'm pretty sure it's spreading. I can look a bit after this, but it is called Beat the Bomb. And yeah, but it's a cool time. I haven't done the actual game yet. They do give you like a boiler suit, for lack of a better term, so that you don't get your actual clothes all gross. But
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
you
cool.
know, it is it seems like a fun social game, both for kids, but also, like, you know, if you're trying to go out, have some cocktails and do something silly with friends, like, pretty cool. And
It's
I think
totally
it
fun.
hits a cool, more local price point too. Like, you're not
Yeah.
paying for a theme park or anything. Yeah.
It's sick. I'm gonna
Yeah.
look into that actually. I'm curious how big
Absolutely.
that's. I'll do that when I'm out there.
All
All
right,
right,
whichever one of
Spence.
you guys.
Okay, I'll go. I have two. One that I did and one that is more of a open-ended conversation. Maybe we do a different episode on, but um one of them is I like areas that have like cultural festivals.
Mhm.
I was a culture minor, sort of like a cultural creative industry minor in college, and so I'm interested in
Interesting.
that kind of thing. And so I went to this place called Vashon Island, which is off of Seattle, kind of in the middle of the Puget Sound. And they used to have like a really strong culture of like strawberry farms and like growing strawberries and whatnot.
Whoa.
And so it was like a really kind of quaint little like festival about like the history of that region growing strawberries. They don't grow as many strawberries now. You know, agriculture has kind of moved around, but they had like puppet shows and different like
Oh, it's so cute.
it was really
Oh
fun. It
yeah.
was really cute idea of like kind of honoring an area's culture in like an interesting, engaging kind of themed entertainment way. So that
Did you
was
have to
really
like
cool.
you took like a ferry out there or
Yeah, yeah.
something?
You take a boat
Oh,
over.
wow, that's
Yeah, it's
sick.
cool. Yeah, you get on a little bus to the main downtown area. They have all this different kind of strawberry food. It was kind of like a boysenberry festival, but like very mom and
Okay.
pop.
Do people
It
live
was
there?
yeah, they do. Yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah. It
That's
was
so
really
cool.
fun. I very much enjoyed that. So if anyone's ever in Washington State in the middle of the summer, Vashon Island Strawberry Festival, good
That's
time.
something
Good
that like
times.
I don't think people would
Hell yeah.
know outside
Yeah,
of like people you plug in this. So if anyone's
yeah.
listening, that's like I would do that. That sounds like a fun little
That
escapade
sounds
and just
sick.
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
fun little day trip for
like
sure.
getting to learn about things as you're doing it without it feeling artificial. It's just kind of like
Yeah,
there. That's awesome.
absolutely.
That's
So
so cool.
that one was cool, and then I think a larger conversation of can movies be immersive? I think Superman is a very very interesting watch in terms of like feeling like a world, like immersing into a
Okay.
Oh
world.
man, I
So I
love that
think
movie.
if you haven't seen Superman and you want like a almost theme park like experience watching a movie and also to leave with a really intense feeling of hope and optimism, I found that a really cool experience. So I don't know if we would ever discuss film and TV and or music, whatever, as somehow qualifying into immersive, but I found that a really interesting experience. So
Hey,
yeah,
the gun don't jam. You
the
know,
gun don't
the gun
jam.
don't jam.
Yeah,
Uh,
Toby, go
I
ahead.
That's sick. I
Yeah.
do want to say I looked up. Beat the Bomb is available in Atlanta, Brooklyn, Charlotte, DC, Denver, Houston,
So
Philly.
they're pretty big.
Yeah, so mostly along the, eastern seaboard there, and then, Houston and Denver and then Atlanta. And then apparently they do some sort of virtual attraction as well. So
Yeah,
knock
it's really
yourselves out.
cool. Maybe
Good
it's another
time.
one of those boys that's going to get bigger as time goes
Yeah,
on.
maybe.
New
Yeah,
competition. Come on.
I mean, and I think that, like, not to go on a tangent, but like social gaming has been through such an up and down scenario. Like, axe throwing was huge for a while and like
Why?
isn't
Why?
super huge anymore, but like
Yeah.
still successful, but not quite as big as it was. Rage rooms were a thing for a while. Like,
Oh my
Dude, I
god, I did
remember
one of
you
those.
that.
know,
They're so
Yeah.
stupid. They're
Yeah.
so stupid.
escape rooms, like, kind of up and down, it feels like somewhat turbulent. So, like, sometimes there's ones that are really well done, some are done not as well, or in areas where it doesn't seem to resonate as well for whatever reason. But maybe something like Beat the Bomb, where it's a more, not only a social gaming thing, but it's also a proper social hangout with a restaurant and bar. Maybe that's kind of a different scenario. But anyway, that's more information about that.
That's really cool.
Toby.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, I was at Comic-Con this weekend.
Oh my God, I
Oh,
forgot.
yeah. I forgot about that too. Yeah. How was the
Yeah,
alien thing?
it was great. I mean, it's really interesting, and I kind of want to focus on that on the Comic Con side. The convention
Okay.
center is not where it's at, man. It's all the stuff outside. There's some really great experiential activations that
Really?
aren't part of the convention. The convention is fun if you like want to be crammed in with like thousands of other people killing yourself over some toy that you don't care about and waiting in like a 5 hour line for it's. I'm very over Comic Con.
The
I mean,
studios
hey,
aren't
if
even going anymore. It's really
yeah,
weird.
I'm not yucking your yum, like, if that's your cup of tea, like, I definitely bought my fair share of merch and toys, but, like, I wasn't getting there super early or, like, waiting in a 5 hour. I was like, "Okay, I like this, can I buy it? Yes, sure, why not?"
Right.
Again, not yucking your yum, it's great seeing people, love what they love. It's just, like, I think it's become, like, such a scalper and reseller market at this point that it's not
Very
even, like,
much.
the fun, nerdy stuff is not really there. Although, very fun fact, very cool thing I got to see was my little brother is a big Speed Racer fan. And so there was like a smaller booth where they were selling a comic, a special Speed Racer comic. And we just got there right when they were doing the comic signing by all the creators of it, and watching his face light up, just getting to see like the artists, all the writers of the comics sign it for him and losing
That's
his
rad.
mind.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what it's about. Like, it's not really about, like, I'm sure, you want to go to the Marvel booth or whatever and get your limited photo op with whatever, sure. But like getting to see like, somebody who loves the art and all that fun stuff. So on that end, when you do see those little moments, it's really nice. But for the most part, I fucking hate Comic Con. Um, I want my for context is, you're like, we hate it. What did you pay? I didn't pay. My girlfriend, she's a publicist, so she had to go for work, and I go with her because why not? Sure. All that aside, the experiential stuff outside the convention center is actually really, really good. Again, there's like 3 billion people, and you might have to wait like 4 hours to do something. But like they built Arlen, Texas, from King of the Hill for Hulu.
Oh,
So they
wow.
That's
built the whole
cool.
town and a bunch of stuff. They did like an Ava Fest again from Abbott Elementary, so they built like her thing.
I love that
Um,
show so
Dude,
much.
yeah, it was really cool, and then like a 4 hour line, like good on them. Alien Earth had a really cool pop up where it was like like almost a haunt,
Is there scares in it? Was there jump scares in it?
So I did the daytime version. I wanted to do the
Okay.
nighttime version, but I got there like half an hour before they opened, and the line was already capped. And I was like, "Cool. I'm not waiting 4 hours for this." I'm sure it's spooky, and I love Aliens, my favorite franchise, but whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but, seeing that, they have, like, a Predator Badlands activation, which is pretty
Cool.
cool. I didn't get to see that. So, like,
Pretty stoked for that,
w
actually.
I mean, I just watched, Killer of Killers
Really
last night.
good, right?
So good.
Yeah.
What promote that shit, Hulu. Like,
Yeah.
goddamn,
No, Dan Trachtenberg is like
dude,
crushing it
what
with that
dude,
franchise.
they
Yeah,
literally they brought it back to life out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
No,
Just
Prey was like nowhere out of nowhere. It was like an excellent movie. And Killer of Killer, Lane, have you seen Killer of Killers?
I have not. It's been on my watch
It's
list for
so
Very
a while.
good.
cool. Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
so
very cool.
fun. But Adult Swim Fun Fest. They do like a little, not Fun Fest. Adult Swim, like something on the lawn they do, and they have like games you can play and photo ops, and like it's really, that has become the coolest part of that for me. Is like really San Diego basically becomes a giant theme park for 4
Yeah.
days.
Yeah,
And also, San Diego's a beautiful city. Like, if you haven't
for
been,
sure.
it's incredible. It's LA's much more chill little brother that doesn't take itself as seriously. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. And so the city becomes a theme park. And on the experiential front, it is incredible seeing literally every bar and be transformed. I went to a coffee shop and they transformed it for the Naked Gun, and they had a bunch of gags. Like, the coffee list said like a bunch of heinous things on it,
Yeah.
and like everything was like, and even this hat here is Super 7, and I love these. They're like these toy guys from San Francisco originally, and every year they turn their shop into something. So they made Godzilla Station this year, and then a giant Godzilla coming out of the shop, and I was like, that's so cool. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I gotta give the city props for building like a theme park and making it feel like you're just in a theme park and not having to be in a convention center with thousands of people who do
Sure.
not shower nearly enough or have any self-awareness. So yeah, that is my cool that is my cool thing. I don't know if you guys have Comic Cons and like even any other. I've never really been to a convention outside of like this
I've
one and
been
maybe
to Midsummer
WonderCon.
Scream, which was very
Well,
cool,
that's awesome. I love
but I
Midsummer
haven't
Scream.
been to Comic-Con or any of
But
those,
I don't
which is
think any other
ironic because I've been reading
conventions
comics my whole
your
life,
whole
but
life. Yeah, it's not for you anymore. It's not for you anymore, Spencer.
kinda
It's
that's
for the
sort of
people
the
who want
vibe
to
I've
buy all
gotten.
the toys now, you
Yeah,
know.
like, I don't think yeah, that's sort of why I've never gone, 'cause I think I'd be interested in what it once was.
Just go to the
Yeah.
city. Just go to
Yeah.
the but I don't think any other places during cons like become an
No, like
embodiment of
No.
that culture
like
for
Yeah.
like
we
4
have
days.
no, we have like Fan Expo here in Denver every summer, and I mean, it takes over the main nice convention center, and that's kind of it. I mean, it's a pretty small scale thing compared. That being said, it's big, but like it's a pretty
Sure.
small scale compared to San Diego Comic Con. Uh, and then when I was living in Boston, Toby, did you ever go to PAX East?
No, I know a lot of people at Emerson who did though. Like
Yeah,
they even got passes through like through the school paper or something like that, right? Like they
yeah.
got press passes. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to PAX East once, and that was like the gaming con mostly. They had some comics there and stuff, but the gaming con. And I mean it, but it doesn't take over the city by any means,
Yeah, that's the crazy. I think film festivals do have that where you get a takeover of the city. Where like
Yeah.
I'm sure
I'm
Austin
so
during South
excited
by.
for Sundance to come to Boulder, man. It's
Yeah,
gonna
as
be
we say,
Ooh.
crazy.
Sundance
Yeah.
is crazy how that takes over that little town,
Yeah.
and I think South by. I'm sure I think South by also does experiential activations nowadays.
Yeah, they
So
do.
like it's really interesting. I'm like maybe it's really cool seeing like the stuff that's not even the main event, whether it be a convention or a film festival, the outside stuff, kind of turning that whole
Yeah.
city into an experience for that
The
period of
one in
time.
Brazil does it too, and I forget what it's called, but the
But yeah,
huge festival or whatever the heck, the huge con in Brazil. I forget what it's called, but they do stuff as well. DC
I
has
think
like a massive presence there for some reason. Yeah, yeah,
that's so
yeah.
cool. I didn't know that.
Hmm.
I just think it's cool. I think it's really sick that that you don't even have to have a badge. You can just go to the city and
Yeah.
have fun. And I'm not just saying Comic-Con. I'm saying, like I said, South by. I'm sure Denver and Sundance is a great combination because the problem with Sundance is that like all the rich, boring people in Park City are like, we don't want you here. And it's like, okay, cool. Bye. But I feel like
Yeah.
Boulder's gonna be
Uh
a vibe. Boulder is gonna
bringing
be a
it
vibe.
bringing it to a college town was definitely an interesting decision. Like,
Yeah.
that shit's gonna be wrecked. Like,
So yeah. I don't know. That's what I got. Anything else, y'all?
No,
answer.
I think that's it,
All
man. I
right.
think that's
Well,
episode 3. CCXP. That's what it's called in Brazil.
there we go.
CCXP.
I was trying to hang on so that you could find it. I
Yeah.
could see that you were looking for
I
it.
googled it. CCXP. I was like, it's a one people know. Why can't I remember it? That's
Well, there you go. Well, thank you one and all for listening, watching, however you're consuming this podcast. Please go ahead and give us 5 stars. Helps drive us up the charts a bit. And we now have a social page. We did not when we recorded the first couple episodes of this, but our social is at Fully Immersed Pod on Instagram. Check us out there. You can catch clips, other announcements as we kind of progress, etc. Again, I am here joined by Tobias Lerman Matante and Spencer Bennett. I am Lane Calder, and thank you all. We will catch you next time.